The recency effect is a cognitive bias in which people remember the most recent information in a sequence more clearly than earlier information. This happens because recent items remain in short-term memory, making them easier to recall. The recency effect is often observed in learning, conversations, and decision-making, where the last thing seen or heard influences judgments more strongly than earlier details. This effect is commonly studied in psychology and is an important factor in understanding how people retain and process information. Now let's look at the origin of the recency effect. The recency effect was first studied as part of the serial position effect, which was identified by psychologists researching memory. Hermann Ebbinghaus, a pioneer in memory research, found that when people recall lists, they tend to remember the first and last items better than those in the middle. Later studies confirmed that the recency effect occurs because recent items remain active in short-term memory, while earlier items fade unless they are repeatedly rehearsed. Researchers have also found that the recency effect is strongest when there is little delay between learning and recall. Now let's look at some examples of the recency effect in everyday life. One example of the recency effect occurs when people watch a long presentation. Even if the speaker covers many points, the audience is more likely to remember the last few details rather than those presented in the middle. This is why public speakers often place their most important messages at the end of their talks. Another example is in job interviews. If an employer interviews multiple candidates, they may remember the final applicant's answers more clearly than those given by earlier interviewees. This can influence hiring decisions, as the last candidate's strengths may seem more significant simply because they are fresher in memory. Now let's look at some similar concepts related to the recency effect. One similar concept is the primacy effect, which describes the tendency to remember the first items in a sequence better than those in the middle. While the recency effect is linked to short-term memory, the primacy effect occurs because early information has more time to be transferred into long-term memory. Another related concept is the peak-end rule, which suggests that people judge an experience based on its most intense moment and how it ended. This means that both the strongest and most recent parts of an event influence memory, affecting how people recall past experiences. Understanding these memory biases helps explain why certain events, decisions, and information leave a stronger impact than others.